Hey, what's up guys, it's Nick2, and today I'll be showing you guys a pretty crazy high DPS build that will allow you to do well over 2.5 million DPS and hit for over 400k in the head with the rifle, easily two-shotting mostly NPCs, making most content pretty easy to do as you kind of just smash through everything. I know that some people don't like using a rifle though, but what's great about this build is that you can pretty much just use any gun you want with it, and it's not at all hard to set up. I'll make sure to explain how to do that within the video, how to just swap it. The build is pretty interchangeable, which is great, and you're going to be doing just as much damage with another gun type like an AR or an LMG as you would with a rifle, so don't even worry about that. If you don't like using a rifle, this build will still be great for you. In my previous build video, a lot of people told me that they don't really like using Unstoppable Force for damage when they're playing in a group, so I decided to make a build that has 100% consistent damage and is also great for playing in a group, so you can stomp through content with your friends without having to really worry about having a buff up in order to do max damage, like getting a kill. You know, sometimes that can be difficult in a group context. This build is also pretty great for solo content as well. It's just a little bit risky as you end up sacrificing a lot of survivability so that you can get more damage, but as you can see in the gameplay, if you play a bit slower and are more cognizant of your positioning, it's really not all that big of a deal to have a lack of survivability, considering that you kill stuff so quickly. I'll make sure to leave some gameplay of me doing a level 3 control point and just a couple other things in the end of the video if you're interested in seeing how the build actually performs, but trust me, the damage that you do is just insane, and it's a lot of fun to use, just, you know, running around killing stuff super quickly. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing the gameplay, I'll leave that in the end of the video. Before I get into it, I want to give a big shout out to my friend who also makes YouTube videos. His channel name is Division Addiction, and he posts build videos along with some pretty informative guides as well, so I definitely recommend giving his channel a look. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Anyways, like always, if anybody needs help farming for gear, setting up the perfect build, or anything like that, feel free to email me at nick2biz@gmail.com, and I would love to help you out. And also, make sure to follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/nick2, as I stream every single day, and I pretty much answer every single question that you guys may have in chat. Love talking with chat and doing all that. But anyways, now that I'm done selling out, let's get into the build, guys. Alright, so starting off with the specialization, like always, for a rifle, it's pretty simple. There's no reason to run anything other than sharpshooter. I mean, you're getting 15% rifle damage, you're getting headshot damage, you're getting reload speed, you're getting stability and accuracy. Kind of obvious here. I like to run sharpshooter even if I wasn't using rifle, even if I plan on using LMG or assault rifle. I still think it's worth to run sharpshooter solely for the headshot damage and the reload speed, but I guess if you want to use the other two, it's up to you. But I mean, if you're going to use a rifle, definitely want to use sharpshooter. But like I said, with this build, you can pretty much use any gun you want. You just have to swap out one of the pieces. So getting into the actual build itself, this is super glass cannony, and the reason for that is just because my main goal with this was to just do as much damage as I could. Wasn't really worrying about survivability or anything like that, because in a group context you don't always need a ton of survivability. Sometimes it can be helpful, but this is mainly for people that just want to like smash through heroic bounties or missions or anything like that with their friends. So that's what this build is going to be tailored around. So I didn't really care about going for more armor and more health. I could have way more actually. I just kind of have some unlucky rolls, but I don't really care because I just went for damage. So in terms of brand sets with this, I would always go 2 Araldi, 3 Wyvern, and then a chest piece. This is extremely easy to get as these rolls pretty much always roll the same way, and the reason that you want to go for these is because typically they'll always have like offensive rolls on them, which makes it very easy to set your build up. And I mean, Wyvern is going to give you crit damage, crit chance. It's not a ton, but there really isn't anything else worth getting. Maybe you can get like 3 Providence for 5% weapon damage, but that's kind of a pain in the ass to set up, to be honest. Getting 3 Wyvern is super easy, and you can get all the mod slots that you need, and 2 Araldi is great for the accuracy and the headshot damage, and these usually are just going to have all the rolls that you need on the pieces, which is super easy to set up, you know. For the chest piece here, like I said, depends on what gun you're using. If you're using a rifle, you want to run Overlord. If you're using an assault rifle, run Fenris. If you're using an LMG, run Petrov. Pretty simple there. That's pretty much all the only thing that you need to swap out, and then just like change, you know, the roll on the glove. But for a rifle build, I'll kind of talk about how I set this up, and then I'll go over every individual roll and kind of how you want to perfect this. So since I wanted to use a rifle, MK17 is still going to be your best bet. This has the most damage output potential out of all of the rifles. Other honorable mentions would be the Urban MDR, because it has a higher headshot multiplier and it's pretty decent, and the SIG 716, but the MK17 is still going to be way better. If you're trying to get an MK, I'd recommend getting the police one. The only difference is I think it has a little bit more stability. It's not very noticeable, but is what it is. I unfortunately don't have one. In terms of talents, since you can't get Optimist because we're just going for as many offensive attributes as possible, I decided to go for Ranger. You could also go for Rifleman, which is pretty decent if you hit headshots consistently, or you can instead decide to go for Breadbasket. But I think Ranger, if you play around it with a rifle, is going to be your best bet most likely. And then if you want to use an AR, probably just like the P416, LMG, M60, or the M249. You could also use an AKM if you wanted to. In terms of the mods on here, the second talent, I have Allegro. I'm not sure that I would really prefer this. I'd probably rather have Optimized, to be honest. I just don't really care that much. It doesn't make that big of a difference. Allegro can be nice in certain situations. I think I like Optimized because I can spray the gun more, but I don't mind having Allegro. I just had to roll Ranger onto this one, so is what it is. In terms of the mods here, I have Damage Elites on the scope. If you don't have the 8% one, you can use the 5% one. You could also run Accuracy here if you would rather have that instead of Damage Elites if you feel like you want more accuracy. The Damage Elites isn't a must. I just like to have as much damage as possible. On the mag here, I have extra headshot damage. You could go for extra rounds. I just like having more headshot damage. On the barrel, you definitely want to go for crit chance. You could go for accuracy though, but I just like having, more damage, more damage. Muzzle, more damage, more damage. Pretty much the same thing if you're going with a P4 or an M60. Mods aren't that big of a deal. I usually just go for damage to elites and crit if I can. Otherwise, accuracy if I feel like it's necessary. And then for my secondary, pretty much always use the same thing. Chatterbox. With a rifle, it's not as great getting the extra rate of fire, but with something like an AR or an LMG, it's huge to get this rate of fire. With a rifle, though, you could decide instead to go for Merciless or something, but that's entirely up to you. In terms of the individual gear pieces, like I said, these ones are really easy to get as they roll pretty much the same all the time, so it won't take you too long to get this set up. For the mask here, unfortunately, I have a 450. Would much rather have a 500 to get some extra armor here and possibly some higher rolls. Is what it is, though. I have damage to elites and health. I believe that you could get a wyvern mask with damage to elites and crit chance. It's just really hard, though, as the crit chance is probably going to be really low. But, I mean, getting a high damage to elites roll is a huge pain in the ass anyways. And then on the mask, I have hard hitting. You could go for dialed in, I guess, if you feel like you really need this ability. I honestly don't think it's worth, but if you think that you need that, feel free to go for that. I just went for hard hitting, more damage. For the chest piece, I have Overlord. Like I said, you could go Fenris or something. With this build, I'm not stacking 7 defensive, so me going for Unstoppable Force doesn't really make any sense. So I just went for hard hitting here. If you're going for Petrov, I'd run hard hitting, and if you're going for Fenris, I would probably just run hard hitting and Berserk here. For my rolls, this is actually kind of ideal. This is pretty much how I'd want it. High weapon damage roll, as high as possible, pretty decently high headshot roll, and then a decent crit chance roll. Maybe in a perfect world, I'd have my headshot a little bit higher, or the weapon damage a little bit higher, and then the crit a little bit lower to compensate, or even have the armor a little bit lower so that these rolls would be a little bit higher, but I said a little bit, like 10 times. But it's not too bad. I kind of like how it is. For my offensive mods, I got some pretty juicy ones on here. I got 0.5% weapon damage and 5% rifle damage. That's 5.5% rifle damage right there, which is huge. And then I have a generic defensive mod, which is another 5% rifle damage, which is also insane. That's 10% rifle damage just out of mods here, plus the weapon damage and stuff. So that's a lot of damage I'm getting. Obviously, if you're not running rifle, just swap it to a different kind. For the holster here, I went for Wyvern. Wyvern is really easy to get crit chance on. There isn't really anything else you could get here. You could get crit damage, but the crit damage is about the same as the crit chance roll, so it's probably just more worth it to go for crit chance. Went for precise here. You could instead decide to go for devastating. It's kind of up to you. I think devastating is going to be better if you hit majority body shots. Even if you're hitting like 80% headshots and 20% body shots, I still think devastating in that instance would probably outweigh precise, but up to you. I have precise on here. I don't really care about rolling it. I like seeing big numbers with the headshots, and the time to kill with the rifle isn't going to be that big of a difference. But if you're running an AR or an LMG, devastating is probably going to be more consistent for you. And then on the offensive mod, I have weapon damage and headshot damage. This could be a higher roll, but still pretty decent here. I kind of prioritize weapon damage over headshot damage, as weapon damage is going to be multiplicative and headshot damage is going to be additive, so you're probably going to get more value out of having a higher weapon damage roll. For the backpack, I have an Araldi backpack. You could decide to go for Wyvern backpack and then get an Araldi holster. Up to you. I went for crit hit chance and weapon damage. I'd rather the weapon damage be about 10 or 11% and have the crit be a little bit lower, is what it is. Instead of crit chance, you could go for crit damage, but I think it's just more worth it to go for crit chance. Another good thing about going for a lot of crit chance is that with a rifle, I have crit damage, which would otherwise go to waste if I'm not using crit. I know that the crit damage rolls are going to be pretty low, and in total, I only have about like 50% crit damage, so it kind of sucks going so much into crit chance and not getting a huge amount of value out of it, but I mean, it's still extra damage, and if I'm trying to do as much damage as humanly possible, this is the way to do it. Like I said, I was doing 400k crits with this build, so it's still relatively impressive. Not really anything else to go for on the red roll here. I went for hard hitting on the backpack. Simply put, more damage. You could go for hardened, I guess, but like I said, I just tried to go glass cannon. For the other talent, you can't really unlock anything while going as many offensive rolls as possible, so this really doesn't matter, which makes getting a good backpack easier. And then I just have a generic mod here with headshot damage. You can actually get an Araldi backpack that has an offensive system mod, and then you could get a mod that's really good like this is 6.5% weapon damage. Ideally, I would have that. I just don't have, you know, an Araldi backpack with 2 red rolls and an offensive system, so the headshot damage will have to do for now, but keep in mind that getting an offensive system mod here would be a huge increase in DPS, so try to look out for that, I guess. For the gloves are pretty simple. You want to go for rifle damage or whatever damage you're trying to go for. Araldi is pretty much going to be the gloves that you're wanting to go for because you're going to be getting the headshot damage out of that. There isn't really any other good glove. Maybe you could go for Providence or something like that. This roll actually isn't too bad here. Could roll the AR damage kind of higher. Providence isn't too bad if you're trying to do this build. I just think Araldi and Wyvern is going to give you more value, but set it up how you like, I suppose. Just go for damage here, rifle, LMG, AR, whatever, and then go for precise or devastating on the talent. That's going to be great. Somebody just followed me on Twitch. Sorry about that. For the knee pads, you want to go for crit chance. I got Wyvern knee pads. You could go to 7.5. That's going to be your max. I have 6.5. Not a big deal there. Talent, I went for hard hitting. You could go for braced or something if you want more like accuracy while you're in cover. Personally, though, I just would rather have the damage. And then for the offensive mod slot, again, this one could be better. I just have weapon damage and headshot damage, but it's pretty decent as it is. Just try to get better mods, I guess. Mine aren't too good, but it's really hard to get better ones. For the stats, I have crit hit chance at 50%, which is pretty good. Getting a lot of crit isn't too bad. The problem is getting a lot of crit damage is kind of hard. If I was using an AR, I'd have 32% crit damage right now, which isn't a lot. It is extra damage, but it's just not a lot of damage, you know. Decent crit chance. Crit damage is alright. Headshot damage is pretty good. 150% is pretty high there. And then I got some reload speed, whatever. 21.5% all weapon damage bonus and 43% rifle damage bonus with 112% damage to elite. So in total, against elites, that's a whole bunch of damage along with the crit damage and the crit chance. That's just insane, and that's how I end up getting to 400k headshot crits, which is really crazy, honestly. So yeah, that pretty much does it for the build. If you want to know about skills, it doesn't really matter that much. I'd recommend Chem Launcher just to have some sort of heal. And then since you're pretty squishy, Revive Hive is probably going to be your best bet. If you're in the dark zone though, maybe you'd want to use like a deflector drone or just a fixer drone. Up to you. I don't really see any of the other skills as being useful, but Chem Launcher and the Revive Hive are amazing alternatives, so use whatever you want. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If this helped you out, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe for videos similar to this one, and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/nick2. And I'll see you guys later. Thanks.